All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about a really powerful idea today. The shift from feeling like life just happens to you to actually being the one who consciously designs it.
And really, it all boils down to this one question. Think about it for a second. Does it sometimes feel like you're just along for the ride, like you're a passenger and fate is in the driver's seat? Or do you feel like you're the architect, the one with the blueprints, consciously building the life you actually want? That choice, right there, is the foundation for everything we're about to get into.
So let's break that down. On one side, you've got life by fate. This is when you're running on autopilot, right? It's unconscious, it's reactive, it's where life just seems to be pulling you along. But on the other side, you have life by design. This is totally different. It's conscious, it's deliberate, it's creative, it's where you are in the driver's seat. So here's the big question. What is it that keeps so many of us stuck in that first mode, that reactive state?
Well, the thing that's really running the show behind the scenes is a concept often called the shadow. Now, what is that? Think of it like this powerful, hidden force inside of you, an unconscious creativity. It's the part of you that's constantly creating your reality, but it's doing it without your permission, or sometimes without you even knowing it's happening.
You know, the famous psychologist Carl Jung had a quote that just nails this idea perfectly. He said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it's going to direct your life, and you'll just end up calling it fate. I mean, wow. If we don't look at what's going on under the hood, those hidden drivers are going to steer the car, and we'll just shrug and say, well, I guess that's just my fate.
So let's get a little clearer on what this shadow really is. Basically, it's all the unexamined stuff in your unconscious mind. It's always running in the background, kind of like an app on your phone you forgot was open. And it influences everything. Your mood from day to day, the kinds of relationships you have, the situations you seem to keep finding yourself in. And it does all this without you even realizing it. It's literally the engine that powers a life lived by fate. And look, this shadow isn't some big, scary, mystical monster. It shows up in really normal, everyday ways. It's that feeling of apathy when you know you should feel passionate. It's that constant distraction that pulls you away from what's important. It's that nagging voice of doubt or that harsh self-criticism. It's fear, for sure. And yeah, it's even all those little ways we might unknowingly sabotage our own success. I mean, does any of that sound familiar? I bet it does. Okay, so if the shadow is the problem, what's the solution? How do we deal with this? Well, the answer lies in shifting our awareness towards something called heart presence. Heart presence is just a state of being completely and honestly aware, right here in this moment. And this is really important. It's not about fighting the shadow or trying to get rid of it. That never works. Instead, it's about finding a new perspective, kind of like climbing a hill to get a better view. From up there, you can see your own inner world. Your thoughts, your fears, all that resistance. And you can see it clearly without having to judge it. And honestly, if you only take one thing away from this, let it be this. Awareness creates choice. That's it. The second you can actually see your own resistance, that doubt, that apathy, whatever it is, the second you see it for what it is, a new path just opens up. All of a sudden, you're not controlled by it anymore. You have the power to choose a different way.
All right, so we've talked about the problem and the solution. Now let's shift from theory into practice. How do you actually start building this life by design? Well, you're going to need a toolkit, a practical framework for conscious creation.
And this framework we're talking about, it's built on 6 foundational pillars. You can think of them as 6 core practices that will literally guide you from being passive to taking deliberate, creative action.
So let's walk through them real quick. First up is presence. That's all about connecting to your true self as the foundation for everything else. From there, you figure out your qualities. These are the core values that are going to guide you. Once you know those, you can build a really compelling vision. Next, you identify your unique gifts. These are the tools in your belt that you'll use to build that vision. Then, of course, you have to take aligned action. And finally, and this is so important, you close the loop with appreciation, which is how you learn from the whole process. See, it's a complete, powerful cycle. Okay, to make all of this really, really tangible, let's zoom in on that very last pillar, appreciation. And I want to be clear, this is way more than just saying thank you. This is the engine that ties everything else together and gets you ready for the next creative step. So, the way we're using appreciation here, it's an active process. It's about taking the time to reflect on what you did, to recognize your own power in making things happen, and to really value yourself as a creator. This is exactly how you learn, how you adapt, and how you make your next move even more powerful than the last. And you can put this into practice with a few simple, reflective questions. So, first question to ask yourself at the end of the day, what did I deliberately unfold in my reality? Notice the word deliberately. This isn't about what happened to you. This is about owning your own creative power. Where did you take an idea, just a thought, and turn it into something real? It doesn't matter if it was big or small.
Okay, question number 2. Now you turn your attention back to the shadow. Ask yourself, what resistance, that apathy, that doubt, did I see clearly today? Where did that old fear pop up? And again, the goal here is not to beat yourself up about it. It's just to see it, because, say it with me now, awareness creates choice.
And for the third and final question, you anchor yourself back into what really matters. Ask, what felt most purposeful, powerful, and passionate about my existence today? What were the moments that made me feel truly alive? This is so important because it reconnects you with your why. It's the fuel for your very next move.
So when you put it all together, what you have is a real process for transformation. It's a direct path, a roadmap, from a life that feels like it's run by unconscious fate to one that you are consciously and deliberately designing. So let's just recap that journey we've been on. It all starts when you begin to recognize those unconscious patterns of a life lived by fate. Then, by practicing heart presence, by just being aware of your inner world, you get the power of choice. And from there, using that 6-pillar toolkit of conscious creativity, you start to shift, step by step, into becoming the architect of a life that is truly lived by design.
And that really leaves us with just one final, powerful question for you. You now have the framework. You've been given the architect's tools. So, what will you choose to design first? What part of your reality, what piece of your life are you going to consciously create, starting right now?